300 episodes. If you asked me when I started the podcast, I started at Her Restored Spirit. If you would have asked me if I was going to be here this long, if I'd still be showing up weekly, I have never missed a Monday. I'm still learning. I am constantly looking and learning and growing. And the fact that I still have more to say, I don't think I would have believed you. But 300 episodes later, and here we still are. I know many of you have been here from the beginning because you tell me, and I am so excited about that. And I just wanted to take a moment to celebrate today because, well, I didn't know I had it in me. And I am so grateful that you've been on this journey with me. If you're just starting out on the journey with me, welcome. You have 299 other episodes to listen to. And let me just tell you where I started. So I started with episode 1, and I did what I tell others they shouldn't do, now that I know, because when you know better, you do better. But I started with my story, and it's one of the hardest places to start. So I tell, start at your 5th episode. Just tell yourself it's the 5th episode. But I started with the first. And if you go back and listen to that first episode, my voice is different. I was nervous. I actually scripted out most of it. I still improv a little bit, but I was very deliberate about what I say when. It was just that confidence wasn't there. And I told myself when I started, if I was going to start that, I would get to 100 episodes and then I would decide if it's working or not. And I would say by episode 20, it became a little easier, a little more fun. By episode 50, I was like, okay, I'm onto something here. And it started to grow. People started to comment. I started getting, I actually got recognized once early on, yeah, at a conference because of it. It's like, hey, are you Tami? And I was like, yes. And she's like, I listened to your podcast. And it's like that moment changes your life. And here I am 300 episodes in, and I've had several people at different conferences come up and tell me that they listen to my podcast. And let me tell you, I am so excited to be here with you today. The transformation that I've been on, this journey that I've been on, this journey of becoming that I have been on it's been amazing because I tell you, when I tell you that I could not public speak several years ago, I'm not lying. I could not get in front of a crowd without fumbling. And I definitely had to have my note cards and everything. I needed to know exactly what I was going to say. And in this 4 years that my podcast has been aired, in these 300 episodes, I've become more and more confident and empowered. And I'm learning, and I know that you are becoming more confident, more empowered, and you keep learning as well, right along with me. And so I did not realize when I started where I would be. And I still have no idea where we're going or what the outcome is. But you want me to tell you something? It wasn't about just doing the podcast episodes. It wasn't about doing more and having more content online, because heaven knows that we don't just need more things on the internet. You're not just called to do more. You're called to become more. You're called to become who God's called you to be. And it's a process. And if you don't start, you can't get to episode 300. If you don't start your business, you can't get to a confident business person. If you don't start your ministry, it can't grow to where God wants it to grow. If you don't start by stepping into your confidence, you never gain the confidence that you want. If you don't start looking at what more means to you, then you'll never become who God called you to be. It's not about just doing more. It's about that you're called to be more, to become more. And so I want to talk about this today. I wanted to share a short message with you about becoming. I just wanted to share because you are the masterpiece of God's artistry. You're not building just a life, you're sculpting it, and you're sculpting an identity aligned with your true purpose. And the chiseling, the hard chiseling work is the holy work that we're doing. Becoming is about adding more. It's about uncovering what's already inside you. And so today I came up with a fun acrostic, a fun model that we can talk about here because we need to talk about why achieving more stop feeling fulfilling. Why just doing more got you burnt out, got you frustrated, got you starting to get resentful because it's not aligned with who you're called to be. And so this is actually a deeper invitation to to look at your identity over looking at your activity. To like let's look at some of the common mistakes that people make at this pivot point. Because when we want to become more, a lot of times in our minds, what makes sense is that we start to do more. So we try harder. We start doing more of the same thing that we've always been doing. We start waiting for permission to release a few things, like we just add more to it and we keep staying stuck. So, how can we move towards significance without burning everything down, without starting over, and without getting burnt out to the point where we don't know who we are and we don't have any energy for our people or ourselves? And I want you to think about this because what are you being invited to next? I have no doubt if you're listening to this podcast, God's inviting you to partner with Him. And the thing is, it's not about like trying to figure out what the ultimate goal is. It's about figuring out what that next step is and taking it. It's about who you become on the journey. And I love who I've become on this journey. I love that I'm more confident. I love that I am a little more bold and I realize that now I kind of say things that make people angry. I do have some haters on the internet who like to send me a private message every time I drop a podcast. And what they don't know and what they're going to listen to right now, because I know they listen to the podcast, or at least they listen to the show, they read the show notes because they will comment on something that I said. So so you're listening to the podcast and then still being a hater. But hey, that's all right. I don't mind because, hey, you're listening to the podcast, right? Hopefully something will stick. But in this becoming, we get to we get to shift our identity into who God called us to be and into this more empowered, more refined, and we go through the fire and we continuously go through, some smaller fires, and then there's a big fire, and then hopefully there's just a few smaller fires to make it easy on you. But let's talk about what it means to become. And so let's start with B. So you break free from old definitions of success. When I was in the military, I thought that being asked to do more was my definition of success. Being asked to be on more committees, being asked to, like, oh, you did such great work on this project. Here's another project for you. I thought that getting the next promotion and getting that next job title was the definition of success. When it was parenting, I was like, okay, when I help my kids get that next milestone, that's the definition of success. But the thing is that those definitions were never satisfied. I never felt fulfilled because there was always another milestone, always another promotion, always another job title, always another project right there waiting. So by breaking free from old definitions of success and really looking at success as a construct of an identity, I am successful when I am living the life that God's called me to live, when I am being who He has called me to live, and when I feel like I am connected with Him on every step, whether I know I get it right or not. Because let me tell you, I don't get it right all the time. I don't get it right most of the time, but that's not even what my goal is. My goal is, did I follow the prompting? Did I seek wise counsel? Did I take action before I felt ready? That to me is more aligned with success than a promotion ever was. So I want to encourage you, look at your definition of success. How has it been keeping you like feeling stuck, feeling lacking, feeling like there's always more? And how could you define it in order to give you a more of a life-giving, fulfilling definition? So the next one is embrace who you are created to be. So many times I have talked with clients and well, I'll give you an example here. Is one of my clients, she was talking about Tami. She's like, I know I'm made for, like, she was in tech. She's like, but I know I want to write. I know that I want to be in marketing. I know that I want to, and she's in a big company and there's not really, and a lot of people won't move around. If they move around, they move out. And so she's embracing who she's created to be. And she's like, I have this creative passion inside of me that I haven't been tapping into. And so we started looking at how could she bring that creative energy into her current work? And how can she start to show her boss and the company that she's in how she's better suited for a marketing or a more creative position? And then we set aside all of like um the expectations from others. Like she had to do something different to get a different result. And so she embraced who she was created to be. Yes, she was good at the tech stuff. Yes, she was good at the operations. Yes, she could, write an SOP like the best of them. But the creativity she was lacking, like that's what she was embracing. And she actually was able to kind of merge and bring some creativity and bring like and be like the go-between the tech and the marketing, between the operations and the creatives. And so she was embracing who she was created to be. The next is clarity on what matters most now. This one was really eye-opening for me because there's things that you have your core values, right? You have your core values, things that matter. There's things that matter no matter the season. But depending on the season, you have to clarify what matters most because you can't do all the things. Now that my kids are older, I have a little more time. But the thing is when they do need me, it takes a lot more of my energy. It's not just me, tying a shoe, wiping a runny nose, or, kissing a boo boo. Like it is when they need help, it's really like, hey, can you help me with this geometry project or geometry assignment? And I'm like, okay, well, and, like, yes, and I need a moment to get into that frame of mind because I haven't done geometry in over 2 decades. Yeah, that's about right. Over 2. Well, probably more like 3, but, who's counting? All right, well, who's counting? But yeah, by clarifying what matters most now, you're able to give yourself that intention, give yourself those expectations that say, "Okay, well, you know, right now, having elaborate home-cooked meals is not what's most important. Having something that's healthy and quick and grab to go, and that we sit down at least once a week for a family dinner, that's what matters most. Whereas in the fall or in the winter, we sit down a lot more often because we have less activities. But now that spring is here and summer, it's getting warmer, hotter, and like we have more things going on. And so by clarifying what matters most, now I'm able to shift my needs, shift my expectations, shift what matters, and then own it. And so clarify what matters most now. And you get to shift that and change that as you go. Like every season, whatever you define your season as, you get to shift that. O is own your story and strengths. For the longest time, for the last, I would say for about a year, maybe more, I was kind of stepping away from my story a little bit. I didn't know how to bridge the grief and what I feel God's calling me to, and the purpose, but because I didn't want them to overlap. But one of the things that my strengths are is that empathy and understanding that while that grief moment, well, the grief season, that grief life that I live now, by owning that story, I also own my strengths. I own that and I can see, and it gives me compassion for others who are struggling with owning who they're called to be and the strengths that they have that they haven't identified yet, that they haven't stepped into, that they're living it, but they don't know why. So when you own your story, no matter what it is, you get to decide what you take from it and what you release. You can't change the facts of the past. However, you can change your perspective of it. You can change what you've learned and what you want to, even the parts you want to share. You can leave out some of the elements that no longer align with who you're called to be, and just highlight that transformation, the refining, the gold out of it. And by leaning into your strengths, this one is an Enneagram 1, but Enneagram 1, this one is was hard for me because I always felt like if I leaned into it, if I owned my strengths and it was being prideful, being bossy, it's not the right thing to do. You should be modest, you should be humble. I can be humble, and I feel like I am in a lot of ways. Like, and I'm working to be humble based on God's standards of humbleness. But I also own who he's called me to be, because if he didn't want me to own it, he would not have given me these strengths. If he didn't want me to use it, he would not have given this as a gift. And so owning your story, your strengths is more about using who he's called you to be rather than being prideful about how you're better than everyone else. Because that's not true, right? Like, get that out of your mind. And so the next is move boldly, even when it's messy. This one also, if I if I told you how many projects, how many classes, how many workshops, how many um, podcast episodes that I've started, and then when I didn't have a uh, well, we'll say perfect outcome, that I scrapped it, or I didn't see what the next, like how I could bring it together or how it'd work, I'd scrap it. So many times that held me back. And so one of the things that God showed me on this journey is that as I was becoming who he's called me to be, I had to let go some of those things about, being right, being, knowing all of the information. I had to stop, waiting for it to look right. Even when it's messy, I had to go boldly into it. If I would have, let's use this podcast, for example. You go listen to episode 1, it is messy. It is, um, well, go listen to it. You'll see. It is not, and even if you've listened to it before, go and listen to just the first couple of minutes and you're going to see just the difference. And the fact that, well, even this one is messy too. I have an outline. I have my notes, just a couple of words. And overall, like, I'm fumbling a little bit. I am like coming up with something new to say on the spot. And I'm like, oh, that wasn't in my original plan, but we're going with it. It's about being present and to just go strong, go bold, go confident in any direction you're going, and allow God to just tap you into place. Just align it with what he wants for you. And so the final one, the E, for the becoming model, to, well, become, is expand your impact with intention. Things don't happen on accident. Intention, like, impact doesn't happen. And let's say, okay, so sometimes you can just fall into it. But if you want to make an impact, you've got to have an intention behind it. And you've got to, because we get to expand what we're capable of when we set we set our intentions, we set our goals, when we set our focus to something. Because when you focus, things grow. What you focus on grows. So if you focus on impact and you set an intention behind it and you connect your why to that intention, it just goes so much deeper. And let me let you in on a little secret. It doesn't even depend completely on you. If you have the intention of following God, stepping into the assignment he's called you to lead, if the purpose that he's called you to live, he takes care of the rest. I mean, again, was 300 episodes. Let's use this podcast as an example. Across the platforms, I have over 70,000, just 70,000 downloads. And that's not even counting the different platforms that I don't even know exist. Because I'm learning about new platforms all the time, or the new ways of, like, people listening together in a car, or people listening to the same podcast, twice in a row. Like, this 70,000, which is what, like, let's see here. What was it? Like, oh yeah, like about 233 downloads per episode. Like, that's crazy. And my podcast is ranked 1.5% globally. Do you think this has anything to do with me? No, it is God's doing. It is him taking my obedience, him taking my commitment and expanding the impact with it. And I know without a shadow of a doubt that it's all him. And I don't have to stress about getting to the first 100,000 downloads because I know it's coming because I'm going to be obedient and I'm still going to show up. Where do you need to be obedient? What are you being invited to next? And I'm just going to tell you, it's so important that you start to listen to what you're being invited to. God is a gentleman. He's not going to force it on you. No, you may have a trial or two to like shape you up, lean you into the right path. But overall, he's going to wait. How long do you want to wait? If I would have waited longer, and believe me, I already waited like 6 months or something before I started the podcast. Like 6 months. If I was 6 months further along, like I could be, no, but the key is I didn't. I got to the point where it's like, it's harder to not do it. I had so much like prompting and so much evidence from God saying, start the podcast, start the podcast. And you may not be starting a podcast. I'm just saying, what is it that you are being invited to? Is it to discover what your purpose is and how to live it? Is it to clarify your zone of genius and why you are so amazing? Is it because if you want to, is it to find the confidence to step out to the goal and the dream that you know God's put on your heart? And I'm not talking about just a little goal. I'm talking about the God possible goal that's been deep inside that it's even hard to say out loud. What are you being invited to next? What is one thing you could do? What is one thing that you can, well, it's not even about doing. It's about who can you become in order to make that happen? How can you break free from old definitions of success, embrace who you are created to be, clarify what matters most now, own your story and strengths, move boldly even when it's messy, and expand your impact with intention? How can you become who you're called to be so that way you can do what God's called you to, what he's inviting for you next? So as we close, I want to encourage you. Don't wait. You'll never get to number 300 if you don't start with number 1. And it doesn't have to be perfect. In fact, it's better if it doesn't. Messy is better. Because then you can look back and like, oh man, I've improved so much. Messy is what we're called to do. And God orders our steps. And he redeems our time. And he makes our paths straight. He just asks us to go. He invites us in. He wants to partner with you. So what is it he's calling you to do? So if you're ready to map out what's next for you, if you want a roadmap, if you want a blueprint, take the Purpose Map quiz and join me for the next From Success to Significance Masterclass. It's your next chapter. It's your next invite. It's your next more. And it deserves a roadmap that reflects who you truly are. Friend, I know that you are so capable. I know that we needed you to step into who you're called to be. Otherwise, God would not still have you here. You have a purpose. You have a calling. You have a vision. Are you ready to discover the framework for it? Are you just ready to discover the roadmap to lead you there? Are you ready to step boldly into who he's called you to be? Take the Purpose Map quiz and then come to my Success to Significance Masterclass and come hang out. All right, friend, choose joy until joy chooses you. Thank you again for the 300 episodes. And here's to 300 more. I'm just over the moon and I'm so excited. When I was looking at, when I titled this, or when I was looking at, okay, number 300 as I'm planning, I was like, holy cow, I cannot believe I'm at 300 episodes. And it's because you keep showing up and because you keep sharing it and because you give me feedback and let me know what you want to learn. And I'm just so grateful for that, for this partnership. And so, with that, if there's someone who you know is being invited to something, to the next calling, to her to step into her purpose, send her this episode. Share it with her and let's start creating something together. Because when one of us shines our light, it makes it so much easier for others to shine theirs as well. All right, friend, choose joy until joy chooses you.